It is Midweek Extra. It is John Gibbons. I hope you're having a lovely week. Wherever in the world you are viewing this or listening in, I've got Phil Blundell. I've got Craig Hannan. And making his Anfield Wrap debut. We've got Joel Perry. Joel has got a similar startup story to you at the Anfield Wrap. Well, I famously offered you a job in Tiki Joe's at 2:30 in the morning. Me and Joel had a really drunk conversation in Pogues. And then the next day he was like, he's not messaging me.
One of us.
And I was like, just come on, lad.
I thought you were going to say he's not the CEO.
No. Well, if this goes well.
Is that where I'm going?
Yeah, I mean, Neil might not be coming back. He's still ill. So we might need one. Yeah, no, I'm sure he'll be fine. Fingers crossed. Get well soon, Neil. So we're going to do the show a little bit differently this week. In part 3, we're going to look ahead to Spurs. In part 2, I've got Alan McDougall talking about his book, Dreams and Songs to Sing. But part 1, we normally focus on the midweek game, and we've not got one. I had a shock of my life when I saw Carabao Cup games last night. I was like, why did Chelsea play Cardiff? But yeah, I've always just thrown a friendly in for a laugh. But no, the Carabao Cup's going on. We're not in it, so no game to review. So I'm going to do some predictions for next year and thought we'd have a little bit of fun with it. So we'll start with you, Phil. Who will be Liverpool's top scorer in 2026?
I think it'll be Isak.
Do you?
I think he'll get it. I think he'll get it together, and then I think he's obviously probably. You think he's probably not going to go to the World Cup either. I think Sweden is still in those playoffs, but that will obviously mean that he gets.
They seem to get beaten.
Honestly, well, they got in because of the Nations League. So they finished. They were basically guaranteed to be in the playoffs. They were always guaranteed to be in the playoffs, which really made me laugh when people were like, he's ruined Sweden's chances of qualifying for the World Cup, and I was a bit like, they probably wouldn't have won that group anyway because Switzerland are a fair bit better than them, and they still had the opportunity to qualify anyway. So they might get there, but I think it's stacked against them. I can't quite remember who they're playing, but they're probably not the favourites in that portion of the draw, which means he gets the full pre-season, he gets the chance to hit the ground running. Most of the Liverpool squad will not be there, so he gets that 3 or 4 months then, and I think after Christmas he'll probably get going as well. It just feels like things will come together for him eventually. I think Liverpool will. I think the system we're going to sort of see the next month or so will cater more to his strengths as well. I think Ekatike will create space for him. I think there'll be, Wirtz is more on a. He seems to be doing a lot more in the final third now and making things happen. And the team I think Carragher's Monday Night Football sort of analysis of how Liverpool are playing just looks like when you put the two of them in there that it will be a lot more suited to getting him chances and getting him goals. And I think that's what you've got to hope for from someone who costs that level of money, really.
Exciting. Who are you going for?
If I make a TK, I'm thinking I feel like everything I've done's been slightly overshadowed so far, and so I overshadow him in 2026 with Isak because, like his start to his Liverpool career has been brilliant, and you think of he comes in, he scores straight away against Palace. We obviously don't win the Community Shield. Then he scores in the first 3 games, but in the first 3 games we have late winners, which overshadows him scoring every time. He then scores what's the winner against Southampton, then gets sent off for taking that shirt off. That was his own fault. And even in the last 2 games where he scored a double in both. The story's been Salah, and maybe it suited him. Maybe that's been one of the reasons why he's started so well. There's been less pressure on him. Even when he signs, he's overshadowed by the fact that Isak signs after him. He's not the big sort of number 9 signing that we were after. It's Isak. So I just look at it, I get so excited about him at the moment in terms of everything he offers the team, even when he's not scoring. But the fact that, you just back him in moments to take his chances. And, I think that it having been the start that it has, where he's got 10 goals in the league and he's contributed in the way that he has, I'm just really excited to see how he pushes on. And I think that, I know we're going to talk about Mo Salah at some stage if we're talking about 2026 as to whether he's going to be here or not. Ekatike just looks like the kind of player that, fancies himself and fancies proving everyone wrong in terms of no, I'm the main man. And when Salah goes, obviously we're going to need both of them to step up, but at least one of them to step up in terms of getting near the numbers that Salah was posting for Liverpool, and I'm backing him. I also love his burner account on Instagram. I think it's one of the greatest things on social media. He just looks and seems every bit a Liverpool number 9 in terms of personality.
He's got that the video Liverpool put out yesterday.
It's really good, actually.
Mum told him to go Crosby.
Yeah. That's what mums do.
So I just love everything about him, and he gets me so excited. So I'm backing him in 2026 to be the main man.
There we are. So are you gonna Go Isaac, you're going to go Ekitike, we're going to throw in another name.
I can't look past Ekitike.
Okay.
I think
Yes.
he's,
This is
bounced
what we
into
got
this.
him on,
Exactly. I think isn't it only Sturridge who scored more goals in the same amount of games or something like that. So we started off so strong. I think that's going to continue going into the rest of this year. And then you mentioned the World Cup. Obviously, he's going to come back a little tired, I think, because I think he'll break into that France team. I think they've got a lot of options. I mean, they've got Dembele, Doué, and Mbappe, but
Barcola, keep going forever, couldn't
well, I think
Griezmann will be still knocking out.
Thierry Henry's probably still all that.
But I think he'll break in, either starting from the start or eventually getting into the France team. And then I think if they go on a run, if he does well, he's going to come back to the next season, 10 feet tall, could even have a, World Cup trophy. So I think he'll go flying into the next season. Hopefully Isaac's there as well. I just don't think he'll catch up, and I hope, obviously, Ekitige's not the top scorer. I hope nothing's happened to him. There's no hitting.
Well, I mean, hopefully it's a good battle, isn't it? And that's what you want. Hopefully it is the two of them, because you mentioned Sturridge there, where it was him and Suarez. They weren't necessarily a natural partnership, but what they were was they were both guaranteed goals. And so if we can move to something like that, then hopefully they'll have a competition like Robbo and Trent used to for assists.
Yeah.
And it's all nice.
But even it's a really good point on the France team as well, because I just think with Ekitike, he keeps moving up a level, and obviously moving to Liverpool is moving up a level, and then he goes to play for France, and you see him playing for France, and you've seen the clips, and he just looks every bit a starter for them. So if he's playing alongside Mbappe as an example, and he's scoring goals at the World Cup, that can only be a good thing for Liverpool. So it just feels like every time he's had to lift his level, he has. And so we're not entirely sure where his ceiling is. I just think it might be way up here. I'm really excited by him.
Yeah, he's a hungry footballer, and I think that's what we're touching on here. And hungry footballers is no bad thing at all for Liverpool. Okay, Craig's trialled it a little bit. Well, we'll start with you this time, Joe. Will Mo Salah still at Liverpool at the end of 2026?
I think my gut feeling says no, to be honest. I think it's gone a bit past for everyone, really. I think the manager clearly isn't going to build his team around him, which I think that's what Mo's going to want. So I think you're looking at too many people who are probably not wanting this to carry on. I think even the club, they probably don't want to be paying someone, $400k a week if he's not starting every game. I don't think Salah would be happy with that either. What I do hope is that he can get a send-off, though.
So you hope he'll go to the summer,
get a pre-contractual agreement with Saudi or something, or whatever they do, get a proper send-off, big mosaic, everyone singing his name on his last day, and then he can go off into the sunset.
Imagine having shots to your laugh.
Exactly.
Be amazing.
But I think his role might change going into the second half of the season. I don't know if he'll go a bit more centrally like the way Mane did a few years ago. So we'll see what his output looks like. But I just don't think he's going to want to start every game. I don't think Slot will want to start him every game, and I think the club will be looking to get a nice chunk of change in.
It's sort of ended up, Phil. It's obviously had a lot more noise than others, but it's ended up a little bit like it did with Henderson, and a little bit like it was with Gerrard. What happened both with them two was the manager sat them down and said, "I'm not going to play you every week," and both of them went, "Well, I'm not having that," and spewed it. And so it's in a way we've never had anything like this before because of all the noise, but actually, it's and I'm sure some of the people who were older than me are watching this going, "Oh, what happened to this player in the 70s and stuff like that?" It just wasn't in the news. So because of Mo Salah, everything's bigger, but really it looks from the outside like a similar situation that's happened with a lot of players, not least sort of Gerrard and Henderson. I was interested he had the meal with Henderson, which was, manager saying, "I'm going to play you a bit less," and people go, I don't want to go out like that.
Yeah, it's it must be hard to sort of go from being the main man to suddenly going, I'm only going to play half the games, and I'm going to...
He's thinking if we get to a Champions League final, I might start.
Exactly, I'm going to be an unused sub, and psychologically it must be difficult, but at the same time, if you looked at Henderson now, for example, would he do it differently? I think he probably would.
Yeah,
personally.
He's played in the Premier League.
He's played in the Premier League to a good level.
Yeah.
And it must there must be a thing in his head that's like, would I not have been better than, for example, Endo's done reasonably well for Liverpool. Jordan Henderson's a better footballer than Wataru Endo. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. Would he have been... He'd have been able to do what he's done, he'd been able to do more of it, and he probably must look at that and go, well, should I have behaved the same way? He probably would have lifted. He probably would have lifted the Premier League title as well. I know it doesn't technically work like that, but he still would technically have been captain unless something mad had happened. And he probably must look at it and think, probably not the best decision I've ever made. So there is something for for Salah to take from that and have a think about. But at the same time, sometimes you just want to play football, and he loves scoring goals that much. It makes him tick that he might just think, well, I want to move on, and I want to. You know, he probably isn't thinking I'm 33, 34, whatever. I'm done. He's probably thinking I've got 5 years left here.
Yeah.
And if he thinks he's got 5 years left here, he's not going to be wanting to sort of dial himself down at that age. So it's a tough one.
He doesn't want that to become a narrative, does he? He doesn't want people to start going, oh yeah, but he's playing a bit less or whatever. He wants people to look at him like they looked at Ronaldo, which is that he could go till 40 and still be banging them in. 100%.
So I would personally be I'd be surprised if he's here on the first day next season. To be perfectly honest, right. I think the way he thinks of himself is probably not quite marrying up with the role that he would be given. The role I personally would agree with him being given, and for him to not like it is absolutely fine. It's not like he should be grateful for this, he should be grateful for that, whatever. I just don't think the expectations each have of each other matches up to the point where it would be sustainable. And I think that's absolutely fine for both parties to think that.
I also don't think like players at that level with that like elite mindset look at, you know, Salah. I don't think looks at someone like Jordan Henderson. No. I know they had the lunch this week that apparently was talked about, where they've met up and had lunch, and I'm sure they've discussed things like this. But I don't think Salah looks at Henderson and goes, oh, well, look what happened here. I might just hang on and stay around Liverpool and be here as long as I can, and even if it means less games, because, you know, they, with that mindset, see themselves as, well, no, actually, like, that shouldn't be me, or you know, I've got so much more to give, or, you know, I can fight for my place or whatever. I just don't think that they look back and they see themselves as their own 100%. Entity.
I mean, footballers are like that. It's like people keep saying, oh, why do young players keep going to Chelsea? And you're like, because they think I'll be the one who plays.
Exactly. Yeah, because they've got...
Because I'm boss.
Pick the trend.
Yeah. Because I'm better than all them
punks. Yeah, because they've been the best player at every level. And then whenever they get to that point, why wouldn't they back themselves to be the person that makes it? So, like, I agree. I don't think Salah will be here this time next year. I think he probably goes in the summer. I think what Joel said, right, that's what I want. I want him to give him a proper send-off. I stayed at the end to sort of clap him round, and I was like, stood there, and I was like, I had a similar sort of sadness to, you know, seeing like Firmino at the end and stuff like that, but also this feeling of like, I have no idea whether this is actually the reality. Like, does he not know yet? Do we not know what's it? You know,
I was with my lad
saying goodbye.
My lad's 6, and obviously Mo Salah's his favourite human being in the world, not even just footballer. And then he's like, the game finishes and he's like, can we go, lad? Can we go, Dad? And I'm like, no. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know what to say. Yeah. Right, but Salah might be going. So I'm like, we're just going to stay and clap them. They've worked really hard. Yeah. And so I was like stuck in there for ages.
It was this really strange feeling, but I want that. Like, I want the you know, he's going to end up being one of Liverpool's top 3, I would argue, players that we've ever had. You know, and it's certainly in my lifetime top 2, if not top 1. So, you know, I want to give him that proper send off. I want it for him as much as us, and I want to have that moment with him. So, I think this time next year, I don't think he's here. I hope that it's in May, having scored some more goals and propelled Liverpool to up the table and hold the big cup, the Champions League.
Is Arne Slot going to be in Liverpool at the end of 2026?
I think he is. And it's mad what 2 wins do.
He's boxed it.
No, I don't think he has by a long stretch. But I think the hierarchy think longer term than what football fans do, and I think they look beyond a run of 10 games. They look at the next 6 months and how the next 12 months look, and I think that, you know, what they'll be looking for at the moment is green shoots, and there haven't been many of those, and that's where I started to worry. You know, I started to worry because I couldn't really see a sort of defined identity in what we were trying to do. I think there are loads of mitigating factors that everyone's talked about, but I do think that he can find his way out of this, because I think the performance from the team was very, very telling, particularly after what happened with Salah. Because if the team didn't believe in what they were asking him to do, then I don't think you see the performance that you see in Inter, given what Salah says. But we do, and then we get a win, and, you know, if we can beat Spurs on Saturday at the weekend, then, you know, the whole sort of dynamic of what's ahead changes really. And obviously there's a big one against Arsenal in January, but there's some winnable games there for him to build on. And then I think you can try and look and put, this is going to sound like a mad thing to say in the year that you won the league, but for Arne Slot, put this year behind him, for the team, put this year behind them, because there have obviously been other things that have happened, both in terms of off the pitch and on the pitch, that have meant this has been a really, really difficult year. So I think that if they can get to the new year, having won more games and got themselves in a bit of a run where they can say, right, that was the sort of the trough, that was the low, and now we just need to build. It's not going to be perfect in the short term, but we're working towards something in the medium term that hopefully sees us win a trophy at the end of the season and gets us into top four. And I still believe he's the man that can do that.
Phil, is he still here at the end of 2026?
Yeah, I think he is. I think we do a lot of work in the summer, and obviously there's also a massive extenuating circumstance of Diogo Jota, which has had an impact in some way, shape or form. But it means you probably have to cut a little bit more slack in some ways, but also the way that we did a lot of work in terms of signing footballers, and then other things that have happened over the course of the season, like Leone getting injured, for example. That Canate has had to sort of stay in. If Leone had stayed fit, maybe the football looks a little bit different because you can take Canate out, and there's little things like that where I've probably gone against him. But I've enjoyed the sort of pragmatism the last 2 or 3 weeks where he sort of changed it up a little bit, and we've become mostly a little bit harder to create chances against. I know Saturday was a little bit different, but we were also 1-0 up after a minute, so that's going to change the way Brighton can approach the game, and they're obviously going to have a bit more about them. But I would be very surprised if the hierarchy looked at it from such a short-term position, as Craig said, and he's got a, it's a big cut. I think it's basically, you will know in the next month or two, really. If we go back to what we were sort of October, November time, in January and February, then it's going to be very hard for him. But I don't think we will. I think it feels like things are just coming together a little bit more than they were, and he's sort of adapted a few things, and it just looks a little bit brighter. It's not to say he's home and dry by any stretch of the imagination, but things just look and feel a bit all right, that they would need to go quite badly. The only other thing that possibly works against him is the Real Madrid situation, and they might do a very similar Jurgen Klopp style opportunistic move if they have doubts.
I think he wants to go to Man City.
Do you think?
Alonso, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, you don't know what.
No, I'm just.
But in terms of,
but we're wildly speculating.
Yeah, it's just purely made up.
Yeah.
So, you do wonder if they think, well, we're not sure about this man, and we're sure about him. Can we do this?
Yeah.
They might do that.
I think there's question marks around Alonso.
I
don't
disagree.
Not least that our manager's beat him twice now, and pretty convincing. So
year unbeaten in Germany is unbelievable with Leverkusen.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, but I think that I think a big part of Arne Slot still being here at the end of 2026, it probably is whether there's someone they really fancy, and I think that given how it's gone at Real Madrid so far for Alonso, I don't think they look at it and go, oh yeah, no, he's a definite sure thing, and I think they'll have what they hold before they take any sort of risk or punt. They maybe, I don't know whether they spoke to Alonso at the time of Slot and they give off great vibes and they really, really liked him and blah blah blah. That might have happened, but I just think they'll stick with what they have until they're certain sure that there's something they really like. But I also think Arne Slot will turn things around and they won't have that decision to make.
What do you think, Joel? This is the end of 2026. Will Arne Slot still be manager?
Yeah, full house. I think he'll still be here. I think ultimately the club won't want to get rid of him. I mean, they've invested a lot in terms of who they've brought into the club and around him. Obviously, the structure with Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. They've obviously invested a lot in signings, and all this will be part of a long-term plan. So I don't think they want to all throw that out. And as we've already said, we've started to stabilise a bit. You've seen a few briefings as well saying the ownership are happy with the tactical switch up and what Slot's done. And also, I think, the big thing is who else is out there. I mean, we've mentioned Alonso, but I mean, he could turn around. I've seen terrible Madrid start in December and then they ended up winning the Champions League.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think they were on a record start up until they faced us. So it changes a lot.
Yeah.
One name I
it's
love.
just chaos there, and then they just win stuff. He's like, oh, is the player unhappy?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wait.
One name that I would be very excited about, and you talk about the opportunistic type manager, and I don't know how realistic this is. I don't think he's looking, but I assume his next move is the Prem, and Luis Enrique.
Oh yeah, that was my one.
You know, I think he's already done Spain with Barca, so he's not going to go Madrid. I doubt he'll go Bayern.
He used to play for Real Madrid, you know.
Oh, God, don't
Play
say
for
that.
both. He played for both. Did he? Yeah, played for both.
No,
Yeah.
It seems that, to manage both is another level, though. I think, I'd say a year's a long time, and I think a lot can change. I don't think they'll sack him this season now. I think with how it's looking like turning around, but it wouldn't surprise me if September, October, if we're struggling, then that's when they sort of decide, really. That's what they did with Rodgers. They give him a full extra year, and then the next year it didn't look any better. And so I think if we sort of end up stumbling through the season a little bit, come 4th or 5th or whatever, just because we've got good players and we managed to pick up enough points, and then next season doesn't start great, and then someone is available or someone's emerged, because this is, I'm talking like 10 months time here. You don't know who the hot manager's there. I think that might be a time where they go, listen, because you said there's a lot of mitigation at the moment, and
The mitigation disappears eventually.
Yeah, but exactly. And so October next year, I think if we're still looking a little bit of a
100%.
mess, then I think that's maybe the time that they go. But that's just what I think.
It almost feels like there's two spells, isn't it? There's like a February, and then there's October.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to see how it happens. Like, how does he get to April? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're in April, what's happened? Did he get sacked in April?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, if they're worried about the Champions League qualification this season, they need to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it until after that, then what are you going to do? Second when you get knocked out of the Champions League, that's ridiculous. And I don't think they'd do it in the summer. I think they'd use next summer to try and...
Particularly in a World Cup summer as well.
Yeah, they'd use the summer to try and put it right, unless Luis Enrique's on the belt. Well, I'll sort it. Just need to do this, that.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because it's someone that you've got like an emotional connection to because of the Premier League, and then you're talking about it, and so when you're asking me the question, it's like your emotional self wants him to stay, and so you instantly, well, there's 2 wins and there's been changes and blah blah blah, but you can also see a world realistically where things do look more difficult. I just wouldn't put, I wouldn't be surprised if in May you said to me Liverpool have won the Champions League, given how how difficult things have been over the past 6 months. I wouldn't be surprised, because it's Liverpool and because it's a manager that I back, and we've seen in moments that they can be really strong, and all the players that you've got. But also simultaneously, if you said to me in May that Arne Slot's not the manager anymore, I also wouldn't be surprised. So it's a really strange place to be in. We're in no man's land at the minute. I think January will be much clearer.
Do you think we'll sign any players in January?
I think we have to. I think obviously Semenyo is the one that's getting mentioned, and I love him. He looks brilliant. He's someone that can play in either wing, but obviously predominantly left. He's someone that can get you up the pitch. He scores goals. He's got pace. He's got power. He's got a lot of things that I feel we're missing at the top end of the pitch.
I might decide to don't want to wing you anymore. It might be diamonds off forever.
Yeah, maybe.
Wingers a wall.
Well, I still think he could play. I still think he could play in like a left mid role, but I think
Did you see the?
You see his long throws?
Oh, yeah, I'm excited about that one, John.
Oh, he's like, what? But also, I reckon he's doing that just for us. Yeah. Like, I've got this, boys, as well. Got this in the armour behind.
There was a thing yesterday about him going to Manchester United, and it's like, and Ruben Amorim believes he can play wing back, and I'm a bit like, do you think he wants? I don't think he wants to play wing back.
That's a tough. I mean, it was a tough enough sell before that.
Come and play for this shit show, and look where I'm going to put you further back. I think
towards your own goal, mate.
I think Liverpool.
Half so.
I think that what I was going to say was the talk is obviously around Semenyo. I think they really need a centre back, and I know that we mentioned Leone and how he's out, and that's something that is circumstance they can't mitigate. I think that they obviously go for Gay, and I think their strategy around Gay in the summer is proven wrong by everything that happens. They took a risk. It hasn't paid off in terms of signing the player. Then it hasn't paid off in terms of us having any able backup. Our centre backs then haven't been as strong as what they have been last season. So I think that has to be the priority. I think they have to bring someone in because we've also at different times seen through Canady's Liverpool career, whatever you think of him this season or not, he's someone that's capable of picking up injuries. We've seen that we can't rely on Joe Gomez again. So that's a position that we have to fill if we're serious about the final 6 months, because if God, and I don't even want to think about it, but if something happened Van Dijk, you're just looking at everything and going, it all falls apart.
Yeah, not winning the Champions League then.
Yeah, and you're back in a Nat Phillips, Reece Williams situation with Canati at the back there. So they have to bring a centre back in. Whether they can get Gay at this stage, I'm not entirely sure, and whether he's, you know, his level stayed to where it was last season. It's whether, you know, his head can be turned by a lot of the other clubs that are going to try and get him in.
Well, I think it's just, he might think as well, listen, I'm having a good time at Crystal Palace. I'm having a really good season. Yeah, I'm playing every week. We're in Europe. And then in the summer, I presume, like, we'll get more money. Whatever, even if he decides to come to Liverpool,
Indy Kylie has done a Mark Gay thing about 10 minutes before we started.
How was he? What's he saying?
He said, apparently the contract that we agreed with him has gone out the window and he's back for
no shit.
More money. It's fair enough.
Yeah,
but
funny
it was January, it was a summer-related thing, I think.
He's going to want more. Yeah. But he's got a greater body of evidence to show his value. Do we sign anyone in January?
I hope so.
Sorry, Craig.
I hope so. I mean, I agree. We need a centre back. I think. Yeah. I mean, Gay. I mean, not only they got Europe, they're in the quarters of the League Cup. Yeah. The one are going to defend the FA Cup.
Having a lovely time.
Yeah, I was like, 11 points with us. So it's just like I just can't see that happening at all this in January. But we need another centre back. I don't know where from. Maybe another Leone type, or just, I don't know, maybe have to run him back with Kabak or something.
It's a black pass, isn't it?
But yeah, and then Semenyo, he looks exciting. I think a bit of pace, which I think, you know, in wide areas is what we're sort of lacking. I think we've got good runners like, you know, Szoboszlai. Obviously you got Frimpong, who's obviously not played much. Yeah. But apart from that, we've not really got people who are, you know, quick acceleration, who can burst and really sort of explode. So I think Semenyo would be great, you know, can play right across the three as well. So I'll be happy with those two, but a centre-back and Semenyo is what I'd go for, hopefully.
Should we do anything?
I wouldn't say no, but we've got a bit of a homegrown problem in terms of we can't actually sign anyone for him, I don't think. Right. Which is limits really what you can do, particularly on centre-back. You think about, your list is effective with Mark Gay, and that is it. Yeah. Unless you go into Villa and go, here's a lot of money, we'll have Ezri Konsa. There's not a lot you can do, really, is there?
They're having a good season.
And they're having a good season, and he's probably quite happy where he is.
You brought the mid down a bit there.
Sorry.
He's excited.
Sorry. That's not to say we can't. We are allowed to sell people, but it's more that we, you know, you would have to move. You'd probably have to move someone on, or basically go, by the way, you're not playing football for 4 or 5 months. Unlucky, mate. So it is a little bit complex. I think they will try and do Gay, just because I think there is a sort of, it could be the difference between getting Champions League football and not. Yeah. To be quite sort of miserable about things, but it could be literally the difference between 4th, 5th, and 6th if you don't do that. And it could also, when you do the European Cup, you don't know what it's going to do. So that would be, it's a lot of money, but it might be that the money gives you a return on your investment. Short of that, I'm not quite sure on Semenyo, just for the footballing reasons. I do almost wonder how interested we are, because we're not, when you see him talked about at the minute, we're not at the front. It doesn't feel like we're at the forefront of the conversation. Like, it feels like it's very Tottenham and Manchester City. And I sort of feel that if Liverpool were in for him to a serious level, there'd be a bit more Liverpool chat as well. Because quite often when these sort of semi-obvious transfers happen with Liverpool, it's like, I don't know, like remember the McAllister one, for example, where it was like the most obvious sign Liverpool
no made. Talked about
Kirkes, for example, it was just incredibly obvious we were signing him. This one doesn't feel like that, and so I'm not quite sure on that. But I also don't think that stylistically where we are now it matches up. That's not to say we're going to play this way forever. But it's just hard to work out how you would put him, Ekitike, Isak, Wirtz in the same team at the minute. So I'm not necessarily sure on that. I think the only one I can see personally is Mark Gay. That's the only one I can think of.
What's Ellie coming back?
Well, he might have to, mate.
Yeah.
He's not having a good time.
He literally can't go anywhere else at all either, can he? He's got Liverpool or Villa as his option.
He will be, like a new signing. There we are. Okay, Mark Gay and Harvey Elliott.
Well, no, because he's played for us this season.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was going to say,
I was going to use him if he's played.
He's definitely played this year. He's still here.
Basically, a long-term injury.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll all just pretend it never happened. Yeah. Great to have him back. Okay. Very quick on this one. I just wanted to give you the answer. Where will Liverpool finish in the league, Phil?
3rd.
4th.
3rd.
I'm going to go 4th. How far will Liverpool go in the Champions League? I know it's hard. We don't even know the draw.
it's so draw dependent, isn't
Yeah.
it? You think of there's 2 finals Liverpool have got to, where one of them they managed to get Villarreal in a semi-final.
Oh, that was great.
One of them they got Roma in a semi-final. And
They had a tough one.
Porto, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
The Villarreal year was a fucking dream.
We've played Porto in a quarter-final. We've played Villarreal in a semi-final. We played Roma in a semi-final. Sometimes things just happen that go in your favour. So you might get the favourite.
PSG.
You might not. But ultimately, you get to the quarter-finals, anything's possible. Because if Liverpool in the quarter-finals in April, you're looking at it going, we've got a chance here, and that's all you can ask, I think, in the Champions League, any season, no matter whether you're good or not.
Right, Phil's killed that question. Let's do the last one. We can go a bit longer on this. I think it's dead interesting. Craig, who'll be the next captain of Liverpool?
It's really hard. It's really hard. When you asked, I was like, you find yourself talking about Liverpool a lot where you say they've got lots of countries' captains or lots of players who are leaders for their countries. And then I'm like looking across the squad and going, well, actually, I'm not quite sure he's there yet. I think Szoboszlai is the interesting one because, you know, he's used to being the leader for Hungary. He's used to being the main man. As a player, you can sort of he looks like a captain when you watch him on the pitch. You know, he's that like almost inspirational. Does was it like a, that Gerrard style one where it's like, you know, he lifts everyone by his performance and by what he puts in. I'm not entirely sure what he's like off the pitch and whether the players would respond to Szoboszlai being the. But then I look around and go, I don't know who else, because obviously Alisson, we're not entirely sure whether he's going to be here beyond, I don't know, next season. Robertson's similar.
Yeah.
And then there's Van Dijk, who we hope will be here for 2 more seasons. Szoboszlai's probably the one.
Do you think, Joe?
I'm going to go, and probably getting excited off the last couple of games, but I'm going to put my neck on the line and say Curtis Jones.
Oh, Curtis Jones is where my money would be. I think he's campaigning for it.
He wanted the most, definitely.
He's pushing
it the other week.
It's like, you know, he's seen Keir Starmer's in a bit of bother, and he's like West Stream, but he doesn't want to destroy the NHS. That's what he's doing at the moment. He's just like, I can do this, you know. I'll come out and front up when we've got beat. He's just throwing it all in there.
He's got 200 games already.
Yeah.
By the time Virgil goes, it'd be what, 250, 300 games if he stays fit. Fingers crossed, touch wood. And yeah, he's showing all the leadership qualities at the moment. Like you said, I think in games he's touching the ball more than anyone. You know, he's coming out in interviews and saying we need to be aggressive and do tackles. I think he knows how to talk to the fans and how to connect with the fans. So yeah, I'm all in on Curtis Jones. And if not Curtis, a bit of a match out to go back to the other question. Could be Mark Gay.
Yeah. I mean, if he really hits the ground running, yeah.
But if he's the replacement for Virgil, he's already captain for Palace. He could be England captain.
After 6 months, we'd have given it to Virgil. Let's face it. When we obviously Henderson was doing a great job.
I think after 6 days, people will do.
After the
Remember, he scored that Everton goal. He could have had whatever he wanted. Never mind, the captain's out.
The things I'd do for that, by the way, Jones to be captain, honestly, it'd be unbelievable. I just think he probably needs the next 18 months to be where he's one of the first names in the team sheet in terms of the midfield.
Yeah.
I think he's been so in and out, and so he's almost been like the 4th midfielder for us at different times in the Liverpool career, sometimes 5th. I think he needs to be in that sort of 3 and be playing regularly before we can say that.
I think as well, listen, just as usual, the captain doesn't have to come from the city. We've had great captains, but to have someone who's sort of from here, it was meant to be Trent, wasn't it? So it'd be something special about the fact that, I mean, where you live, you can walk to where he was from. Do you know what I mean? And that is something, isn't it?
Exactly. No, definitely. And I think the Trent thing has probably spurred him on. You know, I think he's probably looked at him and all right then, see you later. You know, this is me. You know, I'll take the armband, and I think he's fully committed, and he wants it more than anyone else. You can just see that.
Yeah.
It means so much to him. He's from Bayars, so you know, give him the armband.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also the youngest player who's ever captained Liverpool already, isn't he?
That's right.
Shrewsbury game.
Yeah.
So he's already got that going for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot depends on who outsees Van Dijk. We don't know the state of the goalkeeper for
So
this.
they could do a year of Alisson to give themselves a bit of time.
I think if Alisson Becker is here longer than Virgil van Dijk, it will be him. I just think he's been in that leadership group for so long. He's obviously a leader as it is. I do think a lot of people sort of look at the idea of a goalkeeper being captain and sort of go, hang on, is that a thing? But I don't see why it wouldn't be when he's obviously so respected, so well thought of, loved by everyone. I mean, he's one of the few players I don't think anyone's ever said a bad word about. Like, people have obviously tried to pick a few holes in Van Dijk at some point over recent times, and there's been some things going, but I have never heard anyone say anything in the slightest bit negative about him in that respect. So I think he's the one if he outstays him. If not, you're looking at the players that are here now who would definitely be here longer term, and it's hard to see past Szoboszlai. There's a Ibrahima Konate thing, which is going to sound a little bit weird, but he's captain France, and there is. I'm not saying I would, but in terms of he's captain France, and if he is here in 3 years' time, he would be here because people think he's good enough for football to be playing for Liverpool every week, and it's not I'm loving him watching him play football and think he's great in the football team or think he's a great leader. It just sort of feels like it's a thing that's possible more than anything. Like I weirdly think I don't see him as a defensive leader, but I can see him as a team leader.
Well, that leadership isn't just the 90 minutes. Everyone thinks of it as just the player on the pitch, but it's actually the week. The training, the relationship with the players, the management, and the link between.
Yeah. Again, he seems reasonably popular in that respect, but he would obviously have to secure his place as a player. But we aren't talking about now, are we? We're talking about 2-3 years time. So if he's here in 2 or 3 years time, he will be somebody who is talked about, I assume. But I don't necessarily know whether he will be. So
he's not by Jules.
You know, I do realise that might have come from left field, and people will look at that and think it's mad. But if Ibrahima Konate was playing for Liverpool in 3 years' time, whenever the next captain is chosen, he just will be a thing that's talked about.
No, it's fair. It is fair. You can get blanded in the moment, but this is, we're talking 18 months here. Absolutely.
We're not talking next week.
Exactly.
It wouldn't be next week.
On that note, we'll go take a break. I just want to give a shout out before we do to Order Frames. If you're enjoying this as a video, you'll have seen this beautiful frame showing memories of Anfield Wrap in years gone by, and this is what these wonderful digital photo frames can do for you. It's a great personal gift for that person who you're struggling to buy for still. It looks great and easy to use. You just download the Order app on your phone to get started. You can upload unlimited photos and video, and best of all, you can keep uploading them, adding them anywhere as you create memories in your life. It comes in a premium gift box set, and you can get £35 off this best-selling Carver meth frame by using the code TAW at checkout. So you just need to go to orderframes.co.uk. If you don't know how to spell order, I mean, it's a buzzword at the moment. Everyone's got order. Virgil's got order. Curtis Jones has got order. It's AURA. So orderframes.co.uk. Order yours now and get £35 off. Don't forget with the code TAW. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a break now in the room, and we're going to go to Alan McDougall on his book Dreams and Songs to Sing. It is John Gibbons from the Anfield Wrap. I'm delighted to be joined in our studio by writer of this magnificent book, Alan McDougall. It is called Dreams and Songs to Sing. Alan, thanks for coming in to see us. I feel like we've been building up to this for a while, but you're here. You're here for the Brighton game, which is tomorrow, and you've popped in to see us the day before, so appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks lovely to be here, John. Lovely to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about this. It's quite something. I read it. We were just laughing, saying I read it a few months ago because I got asked by the press company if it sort of have a look and maybe do an endorsement. And I was happy to do so, especially after I'd read it. But it does feel like a while, so I'm having to a while ago now. But I really enjoyed it. I loved how wide the scope was, both in terms of historically, you go way back, but also in terms of you go around the world. And I've never quite known a Liverpool book like it, which covers so much history and so much of the globe, but that is the football club, isn't it? That's what makes it so great, is the fact that the stories, the journeys, everything we've won, but just that so many people around the world have attached to themselves and love the club just as much as we do here in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the aim of the book, really, was to write a sort of international history of supporting the club. I'd grown up, I was born in Canada myself, and my dad's a Scouser, so I had this sort of insider-outsider thing going on where I was sort of from Liverpool, not really from Liverpool. Then got a job teaching at a university in Canada about 20 years ago, and so I really was a sort of exiled Red. So I had a lot of sympathy and interest in all the people around the world who were trying to watch the club in crazy time zones and all these things. And so, that was part of the motivation for writing the book, really, was obviously I talked to a lot of people from this parish, from Liverpool, including your good self and some other people from the Anfield Wrap. And but I also talked to fans from literally everywhere in the world, Morocco, Rwanda, New Zealand, Sweden, Norway, Germany, Canada. I mean, there are Reds everywhere. I knew that, but through writing this book, I actually really knew it.
Yeah, and it's when you met these people, and you know, we've done a lot of travel with Liverpool as well. Not quite to the same extent as that. We haven't done Rwanda yet, but I did meet some Rwanda Reds because they came to Anfield. But it's amazing when you meet the people and you see the passion in their eyes for it. And you know, you might have had very different lives to people, lived in, you know, different countries, different cultures, whatever it may be, different sorts of life experiences. But that love of a football club is what unites you, and it's a special thing.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing, to be honest. It makes you appreciate, you know, kind of the idea of being a global football club in a much more detailed way, you know. And it goes back quite a long way. I talk about this in the book a bit, like this one great story of this guy I interviewed from New Zealand, Tom Heath, whose dad was an itinerant preacher, I think on New Zealand's South Island, and so I guess they went around the island, stopping in various places, and he knocked on a stranger's door in 1981 to try and watch the European Cup final against Real Madrid, and I just thought, it's a great image of like this obsession with Liverpool. He was obsessed with the song "You'll Never Walk Alone," became obsessed with the club. And this is 1981, you know, and this guy in New Zealand is knocking on a stranger's door to try and watch the European Cup final. So I know there's millions of stories like that, and it was cool to try and capture some of those and have them as threads throughout the book. You know, I interviewed about 55 people, and so some of the characters in the book recur at various points, and so it gives it a kind of a nice narrative arc, I think.
Absolutely. What you mentioned your dad there, and obviously he's the reason we're together. My dad's the same. My dad was from Cheltenham and moved to Liverpool, and so neither of us would be here if you know, it wasn't for our fathers, which is quite an interesting thing. But what did he teach you about the club and about not just the team and the players, but what it meant to be a Liverpool fan?
Well, it's funny. I mean, my mum. I talked to my mum. I interviewed my parents both for the book because my mum's a huge Red as well, and through Dad. And she put it quite nicely. She said sort of she became a Liverpool fan through Dad, through osmosis. He never really sat you down. He wasn't the kind of dad who'd sit you down and say, "Now listen, son, you're going to be a Red, and this is the reason why." It was just sort of, it was handed down to you really, and you just accepted it. And he was never the most demonstrative Liverpool fan either. He's by far the best loser in the family. He's the most stoic about bad results. He's the calmest, whereas my mum, my brother and I, we all tend to lose it whenever we lose. You know, so Dad is by far the most rational Liverpool fan. But yeah, I don't know. Sort of somehow the values are passed down from him, I suppose. You know, the values of the city. I mean, Dad went to University at Sheffield actually, and so kind of left the city in his 20s. And his brother, who's a big Everton fan, you know, he came down south in the 80s, you know, like many Liverpudlians did. And so we lost our sort of direct connections to see then, although my granddad still lived here until he passed away in 1998, so still came up to see through that. But yeah, I guess it was just, osmosis is a good word for it. It was just passed down. It was just there. I accepted it, and that was easy, as you know, to accept in the 80s, which when I grew up, because of course we were an all-conquering European Cup winning machine, so it was an easy sell, let's say.
You go to Anfield tomorrow, I've just sort of mentioned that, and it's obviously the spiritual home of Liverpool, it goes without saying, and I find, maybe even more so for other clubs, it's that pilgrimage to Anfield that the people are so interested in. I'm not saying that it isn't necessarily the case at other clubs. You know, obviously speak to more Liverpool fans than I do other teams, but I feel like it is something when you speak to any Liverpool fan around the world, they want to tell you either about the time that they've been to Anfield, or that they want to tell you about one day I want to go to Anfield, and it's our cathedral, it's our church, it's whatever you want to call it. And that first time when you see the pitch or you hear the cop sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" is something incredibly special, and it's something that, again, that unites all Liverpool fans, that they want to experience it, and if they have experienced, they want to tell you about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my first questions to everyone I interviewed was, you know, tell me about your first time at Anfield, and you always get great answers. Of course, like in my case, as I talk about in the book, it was Spurs in 1985. I went with my best mate and his parents for his birthday. And the annoying thing is I don't remember a lot about the game. I know we lost. Clive Allen scored and we lost 1-0 to Spurs. But I don't remember as much about the game as I should have. But I do remember that sort of feeling of being, sort of indoctrinated into some sort of cult of religion. And mostly remember the sponsored cars in the little car park they used to have where Paisley Way is now. And remember Mark Lawrence sponsored Ford Sierra. That sticks in my head. And then Alan Hansen, I saw, he came out after game and we got some autographs, I remember. But yeah, first game's huge experience for everyone, and you know, I've got lots of really moving stories about people's first games. Sometimes they're really big games, you know, and sometimes they're just like really nondescript games that everyone else has forgotten, you know. But it's always special, right?
Yeah, it's always special. And how people watch football obviously varies as well. Supporters clubs are huge. You talk about supporters clubs in there, but some people are just happy sort of watching the home. They don't want any noise whatsoever. But I'm always interested in where people watch as much as anything. How many people do they want around them, or is it sort of purely focused? You know, for a lot of us, watching football is a real community thing. You want to be around other people, and supporting clubs have done great work around the world to sort of give people that. But for others, it is more of a solitary thing. And I guess it's just... And it's something you explore in the book, your own personal relationship with how you watch the game.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I find as I get older, unless I'm with the right people, I'd rather watch my own. I need to be with the right people. So watching in public, you know, that can be a bit dangerous sometimes. You've got to be in a safe space, I would say, John. So, yeah, I mean, Liverpool has a huge following in Toronto, where I live, and the supporters club is fantastic. You know, it's, you know, the big games, the pub is full to the rafters, and it's just brilliant. But yeah, sometimes you just, you know, the other thing is, we're 5 hours behind in Canada, so I'm often, if I'm teaching in the week, like on this week, I had a final exam I had to invigilate on Tuesday, and it was during the Inter Milan game. So like I'm telling my teaching assistants and students who care about the game, you know, just don't tell me the score, and then I have to get home and I have to turn off all my notifications, and it's just, yeah, there's some stress in that, I would say. And you know, I don't know, I could just find out the result, but I'd like to pretend that it still hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah.
But that is people's experience all around the world, though, isn't it?
Totally.
It's sometimes it's getting up at 3 a.m. to watch a game. Sometimes it's staying up late to watch a game. Sometimes, like you say, it's trying to avoid the score because you've got work thing or something like that. And it is. But again, it just shows the passion that people have got, that they're willing to jump through all these hoops just to support the team.
Oh yeah, I mean it's I mean it is the number. I mean, one of the other questions I asked people, you know, in the interviews was, you know, what does the club mean to you? And of course, that's a really hard question to answer for all of us, I think. But you know, I mean, the fact that you arrange your life basically around it, you know, pretty much on a daily basis is probably the answer to that question, isn't it?
How much do you enjoy writing it? How much do you enjoy speaking to people? And did it give you a different sense of the football club when you finished and when you started?
I loved working on this book. I mean, you know, I've been a Liverpool fan a lot longer than I've been a professional historian, and you know, I wrote a couple of other books on football, and this was kind of always sort of my dream project, really. You know, something to do when I was a bit more established in my career and life, and yeah, it really was a joy to write it from start to finish. I mean, I could have written a book twice as long, but you know, publishers and readers don't necessarily want to see that. And yeah, talking to the fans was just fantastic. And you know, lots of people, you always feel a bit bad because they've got so many cool things to say, and you can't get that much.
Got to edit it down. Yeah.
You got to edit it. You got to kill your babies, as they say, with the word count. So that was always a bit sad to leave out some of the great stories. But you know, I loved writing it, and you know, as I've said to various people, you know, I mean, even in the year, I mean, the book ended by, you know, the Shankly to Klopp, so 2024 is technically the end point of the book. And then if you think what's happened just in the year of our football club's history and just 2025, I mean, there's another chapter right there. So yeah, maybe I'll just keep endlessly rewriting, adding chapters. You know, I'd be happy doing. Or
write another one. Come back next year, and we can talk about that. Listen, it's a beautifully designed book. It's a beautifully written book. The stories in there are fantastic. You'll recognise some of them from your own lives. I know I did, but there's others out there and people who watch around the world that are new to all of us. It's great to understand better what football means to other people and what Liverpool means to other people, because it really lets us evaluate what it means to us. So thanks very much for writing it. Thanks very much for coming in. I would recommend it. Fantastic Christmas present to someone else or yourself. Neil Atkinson always says, buy yourself a present for Christmas, and you can't go wrong with this. Alan McDougall, Dreams and Songs to Sing. Alan, thank you so much.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, we are back in the room. Before we get going, I just want to give out a read from Think. We're teaming up with Think at the moment, and it is all about the dangers of drunk driving. I'm going to read this out because I want to get it right. It's very important to get the words right, so I do apologise for my reading. But we just want to let you know, as I say, we've teamed up with Think because drugs mess with your reaction time, your focus and your judgment, all the things you need to drive safely. So even if you might feel fine, your body and brain say otherwise, and drugs can stay in your system for longer than you think, sometimes for days or even weeks after More and more, especially at this time of year, the police are testing people at the roadside if they suspect them of driving on drugs. I've seen it myself, driving into work on the dock road. You'll see the police on the side. They are pulling people over. It's a simple swipe, and if you're positive, it could be losing your license for a minimum of a year, an unlimited fine, and ending up with a criminal record. It could cost you your job and give you trouble traveling to other countries like the USA. So if you want to go to the World Cup in the summer, Green and White Army and all that, it could put that very much at jeopardy. And that's before we consider the harm you might cause to others. In short, it's not worth the risk. Now, listen, no one from the Anfield Wrap is going to tell you what you can and can't do in your personal life. That is clear, but it is good to remind all of ourselves of the importance of making a plan and looking out for yourself and your mates. So this could be booking a taxi or arranging to stay over at a mate's, or what's happening a lot at the moment at the Anfield Wrap. Leave your car here, bring it in, pick it up the next day, get the train or the bus in the morning, because it only takes one mistake, but you could be regretting it for a lifetime. So don't put drugs in the driving seat. Huge thanks to Alan for coming in and talking about his book as well. If you're looking for the last minute birthday presents as well, that is Christmas presents or birthday. My father-in-law's born on Christmas Day. It does happen. So I might get him Alan's book.
How does he celebrate the?
He's not that bothered.
No, that bothered.
Luckily,
No.
luckily for him.
Yeah.
You know, he's been overshadowed. Especially now I've got grandkids.
Yeah.
He's had it. Basically, you know, it's Father Christmas is coming.
He doesn't demand a day in June or something. It's his birthday.
We try and do a little bit on Boxing Day for him as well, but luckily sort of he is not too bothered. But thanks a lot to Alan. You could also buy someone tickets for the Anfield Wrap Live.
You can.
That's another Christmas present.
Incredible experience to give to someone.
Yeah.
Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, I've talked a lot.
Felt like
Okay,
I'm tired.
Go to the AnfieldWrap.com/TAW live. So we've got 4 Irish shows. So we've got Limerick, Dublin, Derry, Belfast.
Dublin sold out.
And then and all the rest are limited. By the way, they're all selling very fast. Derry, what a fucking city. I love yous. Yous have backed us. We took a punt. We tried to get the venue. We made it happen. It's going to sell out as well. And then we've got 7 shows in Australia, 6 shows in Australia, 1 in New Zealand. So we've got Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth. Have I forgotten any? I don't think I have. So they're all on sale. Sydney will sell out. Melbourne, there's 2 shows, but again, they will sell out. They all sold out last time, so get on it quickly. Perfect gift for any Red or yourself at theanfieldwrap.com/TAW live.
Whew, it was good, that, wasn't it? He's got the job. Okay, let's look ahead to Spurs. It's an interesting one at the moment. Listen, this is a few days before the game, so we haven't had the press conference. We're not quite sure on Szoboszlai, Joel, but either way, do you see him sort of setting up in a similar way? Do you think you'll see this opportunity with Salah going away to off corners? Listen, I've got me 2 forwards here. I can play them together. You know, it probably takes a little bit of pressure off Isak in a way if he's not having to play on his own up front. The other guy's scoring loads of goals. You've obviously got to start him. Do you think we'll continue starting to see this front 2 now in this period and fitting the midfield around them?
I think, you know, there will be some of that, definitely. I think they're obviously going to try and get Isak into some sort of form. I think when him and Ekitike play together, I think it has improved Isak a bit, I think, but I think it's taken a bit away from Ekitike. So for me personally, I'd start Ekitike by himself on Sunday. I think that was the team that ended in Milan, obviously similar to what started against Brighton, only obviously you'll have Bradley in for Gomez.
Yeah.
And I think you've just got to go with what's working. I think, you know, having this, I think, Pentagon midfield as Carragher sort of named it on M&F. You've seen a lot of fluidity. You can see they're all sort of interchanging, very technical midfielders. And I think it's given us a bit of stability with having Szoboszlai on the right as well. And Ekitike is absolutely flying. I think when Isak did come off, I think it was against Milan, I thought he came alive. He's going from left channel to right channel. He's picking up the ball. You know, I think Bradley put on a couple of great crosses in for him. So I'd go with that and then bring Isak into it. But I think he's got to earn his place. I think once we start seeing more from him, then yeah, let's get them both in. But until that happens, let's go with Ekitike, and then it's someone to bring off the bench at least. He doesn't seem to trust him for a full 90.
Yeah, I can understand that argument. The problem is he might end up being a midfielder down with Szoboszlai being out, and so if he is, you're sort of thinking, well, who's this fifth midfielder who's going to play? He's not shown, a great deal of inclination on Endo. Harvey Elliott's not back yet from his injury, and so it's thinking, well, who else is there? So Isak might end up getting the shirt almost out of default, really.
Yeah, I think if it's almost problematic in terms of if your options is Szoboszlai or Isak, that they're obviously very different footballers who play very different positions, so you're going to have to do very different things, whichever one plays. I personally think Szoboszlai will be all right. I just think he managed to, when he went down, I thought it was a bad one.
Yeah.
But he sort of got up and he carried on, and he didn't look too bad. Obviously, he went off, didn't he? But he moved freely enough and looked all right. He wasn't the greatest at changing directions, I don't think, but he looked...
Same.
Yeah. But he looked...
I'll talk him through though, how best to deal with that if it happens again.
He looked like maybe off a week, and some people are party to injections and things like that to get them through games. So I thought he would be all right, but that's with no medical basis or any insight into what's actually gone on. It didn't feel like it was too problematic. And he obviously goes off at 2-0 as well. It might have been that if it had been 0-0, they could have left him on. I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns on that, but I think it'll be pretty much unchanged bar Bradley in for Gomez, and then you will probably end up with a situation where we start seeing Isak and Ekitike as a partnership in the 2 home games following Wolves and Leeds. But I think you've sort of got to go to, when you've got something that's sort of worked quite well for the last few games, stick with it, especially in a, we can talk about Tottenham being off colour or whatever, but it's still a theoretically tough Premier League away game. And you probably can't just go, we'll just go 2 up front and we'll blitz them. I think you've still got it's still got to be an element of midfield control if you can do it. And obviously if Szoboszlai's not there, you'll have to go Isak by default. I think
his hands are tied a bit. But when you go through the squad, I think that the subs that you might bring on, if you went with Isak, they end up being Chiesa, Rio maybe, but that doesn't look as if that would happen in Robertson. I don't think there's many options for him.
Frimpong being back chat, wasn't there?
But even still, that's coming on.
That's giving Bradley a bit of a rest because he might be tired. Yeah.
I think he's going to go with Isak and Ekitike together. I think what's been interesting over the past sort of few games is the influence of the fullbacks and how it's looked for them and how it's looked differently for them. I think Kyrgyz was much improved at the weekend, and I think Bradley, when he played against Inter and Leeds, was they were strong performances. So I think given the license that this new way of playing or whatever changes he's made is given to the fullbacks, I think Bradley will be looking at that and thinking that's a real opportunity for him to influence the game. But just in terms of that midfield, I think it just has to be Jones, Gravenberch, McAllister, Wirtz, and then the 2 up top.
Yeah. Spurs are in a bit of trouble though. Did we talk about our injuries? I was relieved that Frank's lasted the week. I remember playing Tottenham when it's been a game too far for the manager with the Villa Spurs one, and then he goes after it.
The Harry Redknapp face.
That's what I was going to say. I've done the other side where Harry came in and we absolutely battered them. Were you at that game? It
might be the best we played all season. Yeah. We got beat 2-1.
Yeah, we were unbelievable. Hit the bar about 3 times, and I remember just getting soaked on the way out.
It was a wet one, yeah.
Yeah, that was the old ground, wasn't it? White Hart Lane. But yeah, I've played Spurs with a new manager and I've played Spurs with a manager on the ropes. I don't know which one I prefer. Sorry, so yeah, pleased to see, but he's in a bit of trouble in it, Frank, and it just seems a bit sad there at the moment.
Oh yeah, very sad, especially at home as well. I mean, I think they've won 2 home games they've won all season, and one of them was Burnley.
Last season as well.
They've won 3 or 4 at home in the calendar year. They haven't won many.
Yeah, and when you look at them against what teams you might say on par or better than them, they've not done well at all. I mean, the Chelsea game was awful. They didn't create anything at all. Tried to be really defensively solid, but then also gave away loads of chances as well and were great defensively. So I don't really understand what Frank's trying to sort of aim for, really. It all seems, as you said, very sad. I think you've had, Van der Ven, though, he talked about Isak. Did you see his interview saying that the hardest player he played against was Isak? Yeah. So maybe Slot will be watching that, so he might get a start. Because that was the one where he fell on his face and everything, didn't he? But Yeah, they're in a bad place. I think we've got to capitalise on that as well. I think, you know, if they go in and try to be compact and low block, I think the crowd are going to get on the case. If we can get an early goal, that's even more so then. And then I think we could really take the sort of game away from them. But we've got to be going in expecting to win there. I think they've not shown much this season, especially at home.
I think I might take, if we lose this, I might take it worse than any defeat this season.
Really?
I think because I think things are starting to feel good. They're really bad at home. They're just really they're generally quite bad. So if we do
Good
lose,
players injured, yeah.
I would probably look at this and I would be a miserable man
It's
Saturday.
been pretty miserable for two.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I
On
think
league
the
going.
Europa League run.
Yeah.
The Europa League run, like, sort of mass sat a little bit, and you know, his first trophy in however number of years. But I think they've been pretty poor for a long time, and as you said, particularly at home, it feels very much like the one last year where we turn up and there'll be loads of opportunities to score goals, making 5-1 up at that stage a few days before Christmas last year. That was really good. I think it ends up 6-4, madly. Something mad.
6-3.
Yeah,
6-3.
A lot of
But it was 6-1, wasn't it?
too many goals for one game. You know, I hope that if Liverpool can take their early chances and then hopefully that sort of they look back at last season, see that as the blueprint. But I'm backing them to win.
I've got a quiz question for you. You could probably work it out. You might not even know it. But I was looking at the Spurs as managers because I was trying to think. I'm sure we sacked another one. It wasn't just Philip Spurs. So we sacked, but I'm sure. So I was having a look, and there's someone who works for Liverpool now who's managed Tottenham twice. Can you figure out who it is?
I'm pretty sure I know who it is.
Cool.
Alex Inglethorpe.
Yeah. So Alex Inglethorpe has been caretaker manager of Spurs twice. He did a joint with Clive Allen, which is funny. I'd do any joint with Clive Allen. That'd be great.
What a combination that
Him and Clive Allen did a joint caretaker twice.
If you'd have extended the quiz question to who did a joint with, I don't think anyone. I think I'd have struggled with that one, to be honest, John.
Just wheel Clive Allen out. Absolutely brilliant. The win, though, it would really set us up, wouldn't it? Because you look at the two home games that you mentioned before, Phil, if they can win this one, and we can't get ahead of ourselves watching this Liverpool team this season, but if they can win it, you start looking at them home games and thinking, well, you know, there's an opportunity to jump ourselves up the table a fair bit here, an opportunity to do.
Yeah, it's peaceful 4 league wins together in
Yeah.
a row, which would be massive, I think, in terms of just a psychological thing of going, right, we're through that now.
Yeah.
Like you just put yourself in a position where, because then we get 2 quite difficult London away games in the space of 4 or 5 days, and if you can go into that on a bit of a high, that obviously helps things. I think you're just looking at it going, I would like Liverpool to win this game, to be perfectly honest, and you can then go into Wolves on a high, and you go into Leeds on a high, and you can have a nice Christmas ultimately.
I'd love a nice Christmas.
Oh no, yeah.
Instead of you just still seething, I know.
Fucking looking at the turkey, like.
That'd be rubbish. Are we going to win?
Yeah, we're going to win.
Brilliant. What confidence we'll finish on that. Listen, loads more. Looking ahead to Tottenham. They won't have a quiz like mine, but you know, he'll be all right. Pre-match warm-up on Friday will be straight after the press conference. So Ian Ryan hosting that. I'm sure really looking forward to seeing what Arne Slot says on Friday about sort of the current situation, the injuries and all that. But pretty much warm-up will be leading ahead to that on Friday. And then straight after the game, audio and video reaction to what the lads have assured me is going to be a big Liverpool win. So great time to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. You can get gift subs as well at the moment. I feel like we've sorted all your Christmas presents. If you're short and you've watched this, you've got a photo frame, you've got a live show tickets. Now you've got gift subscriptions to the Anfield Wrap. 3, 6 and 12 months available on the anfieldwrap.com/shop if you're looking for a present for yourself or someone else on there. But we'd love to have you on board. It's going to be an exciting time. Phil's just said we're winning 4 games in a row. We're flying up the table. Arne Slot to Reds. He's getting till the end of 2026. Up the Reds.